Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Campus Study Hall, live on Playback. Yes, we have moved away from Twitter or X or whatever Elon wants to call it, and we have moved to the friendly confines of Playback and away from an app that can self-combust at any particular moment. My name is Shawn with the W. Thank you for joining me today. And joining me on the premiere episode of Study Hall on Playback is my man, your man, Mensa. Mensa, how the hell are you?
I am just as good as a Jalen Brunson mid-range jumper in the last minute of a basketball game against the Atlanta Hawks. That's how good I'm doing. Straight cash.
Shout out to Brill online. He said that basically, how did Jalen Brunson sleepwalk the three quarters and then woke up to smoke a Hawks pack in the fourth quarter, just taking dagger threes and shit. It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I'm actually gonna find a tweet. I'll put it in the chat. But yeah, here we are, man. Here we are. And I think it is best to just. I had an idea for a rundown and a show schedule, and I was gonna get all particular and hype and hoity-toity and professional. But I was like, you know what we should do? We should just start this show off. We should start the first episode of Study Hall Playback with unmitigated, unbridled optimism and propaganda from Mensa. So Mensa, the floor is yours to spew any propaganda that you like because it's your world. We're just living in it.
So, the last I heard, there was a conspiracy going on, right? And they wanted to get on Team USA. They only wanted Nike athletes on Team USA. And Trae Young did not get to be a Team USA athlete because he signed to Adidas, and that he was so much better than Jalen Brunson, and that he was going to show us all this season. He was going to light the world on fire. Against a guy named Jalen Brunson, and I don't think that's what happened. I'm not sure about you, but I watched the Knicks play the Hawks twice, and I watched Jalen Brunson hit, 8 threes in those games, and Trae Young did he hit one? I don't know. And I think that's Trae Young's thing, hitting threes. I don't know. I could be wrong. I could just be mistaken. Maybe he's this big dimer guy, and he had a lot of assists last night. And I also heard that Trae Young was just a much better basketball player than one Jalen Brunson. But the proof is not in the pudding as of right now. The proof right now is telling us that Jalen Brunson, whether RJ Barrett or Julius Randle or whoever has their game together, Jalen Brunson is coming through and he's giving guys smoke, especially bird-headed, alopecia suffering basketball players by the name of Rayford Trae Young. The New York Knicks are a team that last I checked, I haven't checked the stats yet. However, the New York Knicks, top 6, top 7 in net rating, despite our record being 6-5. The Knicks were always going to come around and be a good basketball team. We got the best Julius Randle performance last night, and to get Julius Randle to play the way he played, it was a long time coming. He had his best game. I think it was 29, 10, and 8 assists. That 8 assists was great. If you know, you know. But listen, I'm just so happy to see where the New York Knicks are at. And I'm a guy who thinks the New York Knicks are going to win 50, grinding for good. Trae Young is really 47 years old, showing his age. Absolutely. Absolutely an old man. And those knees can't work either. The New York Knicks, I think we're going to be the second seed in the Eastern Conference. I know that Philly's been playing well, and I'm not too sure they'll be able to sustain that because they're not going to be as healthy as we will be. As we can see, we're obviously able to sustain an injury to RJ Barrett. I think we lost 3 games with him, but we're able to beat good teams if we get enough rest, I would say. I don't know, man. I really don't know where we're going, but I know we're going up. I know the New York Knicks right now are in a place where our best players have not all peaked together. Like, we get a good RJ game, you might get a good Jalen game, you're not going to get a great Julius Randle game. They've only scored 20 points in the same game once this season. So when they're all rolling and when they're all getting it together, there's only so far this team is going to go. but we are going to enjoy the ride. And I think in the regular season, we're going to see this New York Knicks team beat a lot of basketball teams. This is a great year to be a Knicks fan. And one of the things that I tweeted last night was that I cherish these moments. I cherish this season because we have two all-defense candidates in Quentin Grimes and Mitchell Robinson if everything goes right for both of those players. They belong, well, not belong, but they can make an all-defense team. Those guys play for our basketball team. We have a six-man of the year candidate. We have a most improved player candidate. We have two all-NBA candidates. I can't tell you the last time I rooted for a Knicks team that had all of that going for itself at once. This team is a special basketball team, and we saw it last night going down into Atlanta. They were down 7 points. Tom Thibodeau calls a timeout, and here come the Knicks rolling. 8-0 run, no problem. And then it got a little hairy at the end. They had us in the first half, I ain't gonna lie. But coming down the stretch, the New York Knicks made it work. And I'm just so proud of this basketball team. I'm so happy with this basketball team. And I'm happy to be here with everybody so we can enjoy this season step by step, game by game, and live in the moment. This is your time, Knicks fans, to live in the moment. You have a good basketball team, and it only gets better from here.
I have three takeaways from yesterday's game. Number one, we are 6-5, so we're bowl eligible. Shout out to the college football players committee. We're bowl eligible now. But you hit on this in your intro, Mensa. We're not even close to clicking on all cylinders. Like, we're not even close. Like, we have not had a complete game from, first of all, our third best player. Well, our third leading scorer, some people say our second best player, some people say our best player, has missed 4 games. But think about this. The Knicks last night shot 19 of 35 in the restricted area, not in the paint. The restricted area, that is a field goal, that is 54%. League average is 66.1%. In fact, 53.9%, if that was for a whole season, if that team through at this point in the season would have the worst three-point shooting, worst shooting in the restricted area, worst field goal percentage in the restricted area. You know who's last in field goal percentage in the restricted area, Mensa? I'll give you 2 guesses.
The New York Knicks? The
New York Knicks. So think about that. That's number 1. Number 2, Jalen Brunson his shooting splits are 42, 46, 82. 42% from the field, 46% from 3, 82% from the free throw line. Jalen Brunson, our point guard, is currently pulling at Alec Burks because he's shooting better from 3 than he is from 2. Julius Randle is through last night is shooting 36% from the field, 28% from 3, and 71% from the free throw line. And that includes the worst start by a high usage player, or one of the 5 worst starts by a high usage player in NBA history, which I did not know was a thing, and I never saw that used for anyone else, but until the Knicks did it. But then again, I guess the people that did it before the shot clock era, whatever. RJ Barrett shooting 49, 50, 85, but as I said earlier, he's missed 4 games. His replacement in starting lineup, a gentleman by the name of Joshua Hart, is shooting 40% from the field, 29% from 3, 71% from the free throw line. And somehow, with that, and how many back-to-backs have we had? 4? 3?
Yeah,
3
I think
sure.
around that. Yeah. The point is the schedule has not been kind to us.
The schedule sucked. Julius was terrible to start. Brunson is still trying to find his groove. RJ, I don't know if maybe he needs to go vegan. Maybe he needs to go paleo. I don't know what's going on, but all of that, and we're 6-5. To your point, Mensa, it's only up from here. It's only up from here. All right, that's number 1. Number 2, I've asked this question this morning on the Hoop Spaces pregame show. I asked this question on the Hoop Spaces show on the Daily Playback. I think I asked this question on Knicks on 1. I'm going to ask this question now. is there a statute of limitations on how long a monarchy lasts? Like, is there a statute of limitations? Like, how long do you tend to be king of something when you don't actually rule anything?
Hello. Look, last I checked.
Because
no, go ahead.
I'm supposed to believe that Rayford Trae Young is the king of New York because of his exploits in a first round playoff series that happened before booster shots were a thing. Like, every day we get away from that. And listen, I said it last night on the watch along. I said it. Actually, I didn't say it on watch along. I said it this morning. Since the magical run of 2021 for the Atlanta Hawks to the Eastern Conference Finals in a season of empty gyms, but we're not going to go down that road. They've won 3 playoff games. Not 3 playoff series. 3 playoff games. The New York Knicks won more playoff games in April 2023 than the Atlanta Hawks have won since the end of the 2020-2021 season. In his career, Rayford Trae Young is 9-15 against the Nets. 9-15. But I'm supposed to believe that because he won a playoff series against Elfrid Payton, Reggie Bullock, and Nerlens Noel, I'm supposed to believe that he is the quote-unquote king of New York. To quote the great not late, because he's very much alive, to quote the great Joe Biden, some people have no shame. And last thing I'll say really quickly, actually, I have this tweet. I have it in my drafts, and I'm going to tweet it now because I wanted to wait till we went live on Playback before I tweeted it. So I'm going to read it before I tweet it. And it's Trae Young before the 10:45 mark of the fourth quarter was 1 for 8, all 3 from 3, 5 points, 11 assists, 2 shooting fouls drawn. Trae, after the 10:45 mark of the fourth quarter, 3 for 4 from the field, all 1 from 3, 10 points, 6 assists, 2 shooting fouls drawn. So he, again, a little under 11 minutes, 3 or 4 from the field, 10 points, 6 assists, 2 shooting fouls drawn. Now you're probably wondering what happened at the 10:45 mark of the fourth quarter. Quentin Grimes messed up his hand and came out of the game. And I say this because there's been a lot of chatter about, is Quentin Grimes, should he be in the starting lineup? Why is he not taking the leap? He needs to be better. He's not good enough. Quickly should start. Listen to those numbers I just read. And even watching the game, as soon as Grimes came out, Trae started to warm up. Now, you will have noticed that now, usually, shout out to Andrew for calling us out on the watch along last night. They usually give Trae a breather in the middle of the fourth quarter. So actually, I wrote it down here. Grimes came out with 10:45 left in the fourth. Trae went 2 of 3, 4 assists and 4 assists. Then he came out the game with 7:16 left, and then he came back in at 5. He came back in at 5 minutes and 20 seconds left, and he was 1 for 1, 4 free throws and 2 assists. Quentin Grimes matters, people.
Hold on, Shawn, I think your mic went out.
Why does this keep happening? Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay, I know why. I keep switching to my earbuds. All right, I probably should just
Perfect.
Go to my earbuds.
Perfect. We're good.
Yeah, so this is becoming a bit. I don't understand what's going on. I don't get what's going on. So you mean to tell me I read all those beautiful things, sounded like I was 20,000 leagues under the sea?
Nah, it happened I think you were out for maybe a minute, so you were good.
Okay, but yeah, Quentin Grimes matters, people, and Quentin Grimes. This team is guarded differently when Quentin Grimes on the floor. Quentin Grimes guards either their best guard or their best wing every night. He does his job. He does it well. The idea, and I love Emmanuel quickly, but
I'm not so sure that if we can just stick him in the starting lineup over Quentin Grimes, that we have the same results. So, Mensa, I throw it over to you. What's your thoughts on this whole QG versus IQ squabble?
I don't think that Emmanuel Quickly should start over Quentin Grimes when the team is healthy. However, I think that it's really problematic, well, it was at least, that when Julius isn't playing well and Jalen Brunson isn't playing well, which I'm not sure is going to happen again for the rest of the season because they're both good basketball players. But when they're both not playing well, you need another creator in the lineup with them. Playing Hart, Grimes, and Mitch, who are kind of more spoon-fed on offense than anything else, it becomes a flaw because you end up having to rely on Quentin Grimes, who can't stop himself from dribbling like a gym teacher, and I need him to get out of that bad habit. He just plays the game too rigid. So he needs to be in that structured lineup, like he needs to be with a guy like RJ Barrett or with a guy where he can play off of more basketball players and have guys he needs to play off somebody else's gravity. But when RJ is out, you absolutely need to be playing Emmanuel Quickly over Quentin Grimes or even Emmanuel Quickly over Josh Hart. You can't play. Here's what I'd say. You cannot start Josh Hart and Quentin Grimes together. You have to break that up. You just have to because you're not getting enough from either guy. The way I look at it is with the starting five, Grimes is what you need because you need that on-ball defensive pressure. While Emmanuel Quickly is an amazing defender, he's not the perimeter stopper that a Quentin Grimes is, and you need that so you can kind of hide Jalen Brunson because while he's been playing better defense this year, he's also not one of those guys that you can rely on defensively. You kind of need to shade him and tuck him on the shooter or whatever. So long story short, I like Grimes in the starting lineup, but I want to see more Emmanuel Quickly minutes, especially if RJ Barrett is going to have 4-day migraines. Like we need more Emmanuel Quickly. That's what I would say.
No, I agree. Again, 40% from the field, 29% from three. We can't have that. We absolutely can't have that. And I've said it. I keep saying it. I've been saying it since May that we have a Josh Hart problem, and it's not Josh Hart's fault. But one of the reasons why it's not Josh Hart's fault is this team has no size, and that was a decision that we made, that the front office made, and excuse me. And it forces Tibbs that when he needs size, he has to go to Josh Hart. And listen, Josh Hart played a great game yesterday. He does Josh Hart things: rebounds, play defense, gritty, tough, great screen setter. Pulled him in the actions because they tried to hide Trae on him. And he's like, no.
I thought that was interesting. Jalen Brunson would target the switch and then they would just double. They wouldn't even worry about Josh Hart. They were like, yeah, no worries. No, he's not going to do anything with the basketball, which kind of proves that, you kind of need to not be playing Josh Hart as much. If guys are willing to let him roam free instead of actually respecting that, okay, this guy's a scoring threat. But I did find that interesting. We were hunting and they were like, okay, no problem, double. That didn't work, but...
Yeah, that actually reminds me of something. Jeff J said it to me yesterday. He said to me a text. I said it earlier today. The Atlanta Hawks do not have a place to hide Trae Young in our roster anymore.
Very true.
This Reggie Bullock traveling on a 2-0 fast break lives rent-free in my head forever. Forever. Watching Reggie Bullock having 1 point or 3 points when being guarded by Trae Young lives rent-free in my head forever. But we've come a long way from Reggie Bullock and Elfrid Payton to Quentin Grimes and Jalen Brunson. And you saw it. So one of the reasons why my betting and sweating pick was what it was I said, well, I know they're not going to let Trae guard Brunson, so they're going to hide him on Grimes. And where I'll also give Thibodeau credit from because during that playoff series, we just ran our stuff. And I will give Tibbs grace in the fact that he probably was like, well, I don't really, like, am I going to run a play for Reggie Bullock who can't dribble? But now, when it comes to Trey and they just hide, they can't hide him. They put him on, they're never going to put him on Brunson. They're going to put him on Grimes. Grimes will shoot over him or go to the hole. They put him on Hart. All right, I'll set the screen. I'll get in the action. I would absolutely love to play this team in the playoffs with this team. And we haven't even mentioned the fact that Nerlens Noel will be replaced by Mitchell Robinson. And Clint Capella, who's talking cash shit after the playoff game.
Oh, I'm still mad about that. I'm not going to lie.
About we'll send you home. Listen.
I did not heal.
He had 3 more rebounds than I did. I'm going to see if I find that tweet. We'll send you home. I
remember I was so angry because he had so much smoke for Julius Randle. I'm like, it's like, you are so tough to be talking up 3-1 right now. Like, you're the toughest guy in America. I mean, at the end of the day, they sent us home on our home court. But what have they done since then is the point. They haven't done anything. And look, I like this Hawks team. I was watching, I'm really impressed with Jalen Johnson. I like the way he plays the game. I like DeAndre Hunter I like him 40% of the time. Clint Capella is still really good. Onyeka Okongwu, they're built kind of similar to us because they don't have any good wings. I like Bojan Bogdanovic. I like the AJ Griffin kid. Trae Young has his uses. He's a good basketball player, but they're not ready for us. Like, the way I would look at it is this Hawks team is a lot like last year's Cavs team. Like this year's Cavs team, they got Max Strus, and that boy been putting the ball on the floor. Like, we saw it firsthand in the playoffs. But this Cavs team, to me, there are 2 teams that, and we haven't played one of these teams yet, but there are 2 teams that are doing well-ish in the Eastern Conference that we can expect to see in the playoffs. 2 teams that I would think that the Knicks will wipe the floor with. One is the Atlanta Hawks, and 2 is the Indiana Pacers. We don't have to talk about the Pacers today, but I don't think the Pacers are built to play us. But again, I fully agree with the Hawks take because we're a better version of what they are. They have Jalen Johnson, we got All NBA Julius Randle. They got Trae Young, we got Jalen Brunson. They got Clint Capella, we got Mitchell Robinson. They got an assortment of wings. We have R.J. Barrett. So all of that smoke that they want, they don't want it with us. And even Hawks Fan TV, he's a great troll, by the way. He was saying that, and I respect the troll game. It was really good. He was after we beat them, he was like, "Oh man, the Knicks and the Hornets have our kind of putting us in the same ballpark with the Hornets, even though we're way better than the Hornets." Saying that the Knicks and the Hornets have the Hawks record number, and yeah, we have your number, but we're not the Hornets, bro, and you don't want to see us in the playoffs.
For those who are listening later, I found the video, the actual sound from Clint Capella, and a graphic of the quote, what he said. And Blood of the Panther says in the chat, "Ain't nobody named Clint gonna make me feel bad about myself. Your mother don't mess with you. That's why she named you that. We not the same." Yes, you're right. All right. If anybody wants to come up and share anything, raise your hand and we will figure out a way to get you on the stage. If you have a question you want to ask us, if there's just takes you want to get off, things you want to share, please let us know. But I'm glad what you said about, to go back to the Grimes versus IQ thing. I mean, to play devil's advocate and make the case for for IQ in the starting lineup over Quentin Grimes, you could say, well, shooting wise, you don't lose anything, because you're still going to have to respect his shot. You still have to respect this. You're still going to have to respect the shot. So it's not like you're not sagging into the paint off of Emmanuel quickly. And he's shooting better this year. especially he's shooting better this year. I had the notes in front. I had the notes in front of me. His help defense is amazing. I think where obviously the trade off is that his on ball defense is his point of attack defense isn't as good. I don't think that if Immanuel Quickley had played 48 minutes against the Heat in Game 5 last year, that we would have won the game. But Immanuel Quickley is an amazing help defender. He plays free safety as well as anyone in the league. He rotates before he does. He rotates before he does. He rotates before everyone else realizes you're supposed to rotate. But to your point, the problem isn't that, and Quickley should play more minutes. But the problem isn't Quickley over times. It's we should have Quickley was the guy who played every game. Like he was the sixth man off the bench when we had a starter missing. That wasn't, Mitchell Robinson. So, so that's the Quentin Grimes thing. And again, anyone who wants to come up, just raise your hand. We'll bring you to the stage. If I have no idea how to do it, but I'm sure if you raise your hand, we'll bring you up. Anything else you want to touch on, Mensa?
So I think there's a really interesting discussion to be had about Josh Hart, just because he is nominally, he's not a power forward. I know Josh Hart is not a power forward. Please do not tell me Josh Hart is not a power forward. I understand that. For the New York Knicks, he's basically our backup forward. Him and RJ kind of split that depending on the lineup. But but the way we have come to rely on Josh Hart in New York I don't want to say that it's been a damper on the young players, because everybody expected that Josh Hart, the Draymond Green we have at home, I think everybody expected Josh Hart to take, well, not everybody, but a lot of people in this content creator sphere, they expected Josh Hart to kind of take away from RJ Barrett's minutes, but RJ Barrett has risen to the occasion. So it's no. So I don't think that having Josh Hart on the team necessarily hampers the development of young basketball players. However, we are experiencing a minutes crunch in New York. There were games where Immanuel Quickley is playing 22 minutes and guys like Julius Randle and Josh Hart are playing plus 36 minutes plus. We can't have that. And the Josh Hart problem that you talk about a lot, I think that, again, it's not his fault. He does things that coaches like. It's not necessary. It's not on him. That is the way that he decides to play the game, and it's very valuable. However, I'm not sure how Immanuel Quickley. Immanuel Quickley is Immanuel Quickley. I'm not sure how Quentin Grimes and even Immanuel Quickley. Yeah, I'm not sure how these two guys take steps forward when there's this lurking Josh Hart will close kind of threat over their heads. And we've seen Immanuel Quickley play very well. We've seen the Quickley, Grimes, Brunson, Randall, and Mitchell Robinson. We've seen that lineup do very well in the regular season. So it's not like there's a reason that we need to go to Hart over Quick, because we know Quick is very good and we've seen those lineups work. So I'm just not understanding why we're so reliant on Josh Hart when we don't necessarily need to be. This is a very talented basketball team, and I understand when RJ Barrett is out, you need somebody else to step in, but 43 minutes in a basketball game is kind of crazy. And I think that's how many he played against the Boston Celtics. And I don't want, these are trends that we can see early on in the season that I'm hoping will eventually play themselves out, and we'll get more Quickley minutes and we'll get more Grimes minutes. But as we are currently constructed, and we saw last year in the playoffs against the Miami Heat, that this reliance on Josh Hart, while it may make coaches feel good, it actually makes you lose, because he's not the shooter you need him to be. And his hesitance, and I said this early, I remember last year when everybody was like, oh, I'm so worried about RJ Barrett. I'm so worried about RJ Barrett going into the playoffs. I'm like, the guy I'm worried about is Josh Hart, because at least RJ Barrett is willing to shoot the three ball. Josh Hart is not willing to shoot. He needs to be wide open. I haven't looked these numbers up, but I'm sure Josh Hart's shot quality is an A+. He only takes wide open threes, and he still only hits 29, 30% of them. But it's an issue to see that. For me, it's an issue, this Josh Hart stuff, and he's a good basketball player. I will always honor that, and I don't think it's his fault, but I do think that Tom Thibodeau, if I have any criticism for him so far this season, it's that he needs to get this minutes thing right. And the reliance on Josh Hart it's not what you want. Not at all.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I got to make sure. So shout out to John yesterday in the post game. He had said something interesting that if you took all of the players on the roster that were here last year that were in the rotation, that number adds up to 240. So our rotation, our 8-man rotation, even with Obi gone, our 8-man rotation adds up to 240. When you replace Obi with DiVincenzo and you look at their minutes last year, it adds up to 240. So it's like, where is the room? Where is the it's already, to your point, it's already a minutes crunch. With that being said, I don't think we can accelerate the minutes crunch. To your point, playing anyone 43 minutes in an 8-man rotation in November is a lot. Playing I don't want to say not a shoot efficient wing.
Shooting deficient. I love it.
Against that team, the Boston Celtics, is a problem. Now, there are games where the Josh Hart minutes do not rear its ugly head. Like yesterday, it didn't really. Yes, there were a couple pump fakes, a couple drives into the paint, but it didn't really wasn't really a problem yesterday. But to your point about the minutes crunch, you know what? The guys have to take it. And I fully believe that the days of if your hero and my man Rowan Alexander Barrett Jr. continues to do what he's doing, then there's no chance in hell that Josh Hart is closing over him. Those days should be over. So then it's Quentin Grimes' job to say okay, I'm going to play well enough so that you're not going to take minutes over me. Now, again, Josh Hart is a little taller, a little bigger, so he can guard a position up easier than Quentin Grimes can. I could put Hart on Pascal Siakam. I don't know if I want to put Quentin Grimes on Pascal Siakam, but you got to take it. You got to be all right, I'm going to show you, Tom Thibodeau, that pulling me for this guy is a mistake. And then if he does that, then we're in a really good place. And then we have then that's a problem I don't mind having. This problem right now that we have too many good players is a problem I don't mind having. So there you go. You go ahead, Mensa.
So really quickly, just a question, just a brief question, nothing too crazy. Because this is something that I've been watching since, I want to see how these guys respond to the way they played in the playoffs last year. It doesn't, to me, okay, here's what I'd ask you. Do you think that Quentin Grimes and Emmanuel Quickley are improving from what was exposed about them in the playoffs last year?
So I feel like Quickley's was just I was gonna say something that a center from the Cleveland Cavaliers said last year, but I'm not gonna put that on wax.
Yeah, please don't.
I just think he was just going too fast. I remember when he checked into game 1 against Cleveland. I remember you even saying that they're gonna rename it Quickly Loans Arena when he's done with them. But it just looked like he was just going too fast, and it was just he came in, he tried to throw an outlet pass, it got picked off. There were turnovers. It's just I don't know, maybe it just got to him. Maybe the pressure of I got to show these people I should have been 6 minutes a year. Maybe that was bugging him, whatever. I feel or it just could have been just nerves, or maybe him wanting to make up for his first playoff series because he didn't do well in that series either. But then again, he was a rookie. Grimes, I don't know if Grimes did anything wrong. I think Grimes just got hurt. I don't know. If Grimes doesn't get hurt, Hart doesn't start game 1, and maybe we won game 1 because Eric Spoelstra was wait a minute, you're gonna have this guy and this guy okay, enjoy yourself. We're gonna be hang out in the paint. You take all the threes you want. So, Yeah, man. Listen, and to those in the chat, if you have questions, doubts, comments, observations, think we're bugging, you can come up to the stage, or you can just type it in the chat. One thing that Ben Kim Gervey said in the chat, he said, where is it? It is right here. Josh Hart is like pasta, filling and often awesome, but lacking in nutrients.
It's a lot of carbs.
A lot of carbs, not too many vegetables, because you need your vegetables to grow, and you need your vegetables to hit threes. I just can't. I just can't get over the wing that just doesn't want to shoot threes. But whatever. So is life. But yeah, I think they are. I think they are improving. Kyle in the chat says, shout out to you, Kyle. Kyle's become one of my favorite Knicks
easily.
Twitter
guy.
followers.
That is my guy. Fellow lead row in this. Let's go.
It's amazing. He says, I think Quick in the playoff last year was the subject of the cliche game slowing down. The game clearly slowed down in the regular season, but when it sped up again, he just wasn't able to read that way. I think you hit the nail on the head, Kyle. He thought he beat the game. And then the big boss came, and it was like, all that stuff isn't going to work. And it wasn't going to work.
Yeah. So the one thing that I've been watching specifically for both basketball players, for Quentin Grimes and for Emmanuel Quickley, because their games translated as far as like defensively, their defensive basketball game translated to the playoffs very well, which is something that you can expect. The one thing. I feel like am I sounding okay?
I'm fine.
All right, perfect. The one thing about Quentin Grimes that I was worried about coming into the season was I wanted him to slow down, because I felt like the game was a little too fast for him, because he was just missing open jumpers. Like a lot of people were saying that, Quentin Grimes shouldn't be playing. But like if you were watching the games, you knew the threat of Quentin Grimes was keeping the New York Knicks in basketball games, because like teams just would not leave him wide open. They would have to respect his spacing, whereas with RJ Barrett and Josh Hart, they were more willing to play off. The thing that I was worried about with him, Quentin Grimes, was the game going to slow down for him coming into the regular season? And I wasn't too sure that was going to happen. And it's still, and right now it's early. It's 11 games into the season. Wait, what? Did y'all see Josh Hart's butt slap on Brunson after he hit a big head three? More of that, please. I don't know what to say. I think that's interesting. But yeah, so I haven't seen Quentin Grimes. I haven't seen his game slow down over the first 11. And the one thing that I haven't seen, the one thing that I haven't seen is for Emmanuel Quickley that I thought got exposed. I thought Emmanuel Quickley was exposed as a non-elite ball handler. Now, I want to be clear about what I'm saying. I'm not saying that Emmanuel Quickley can't dribble. I'm saying that in order to create advantages in the playoffs, you either need to have elite strength or you need to have elite basketball handle. And Emmanuel Quickley, at that juncture of his career, was not strong enough to get by guys and didn't have the wiggle to get past guys, right? So, flag on the play. So watching Emmanuel Quickley now, that's something that I'm very, very keen to. I want to see him have a little bit more wiggle in his game. And through 11, I think the jury is still out. I don't think that Emmanuel Quickley is not able to take the leap in terms of his handle, because that's what he wants, right? He wants to be a lead guard in this league. And I think that he could play off of other high usage basketball players like an Anthony Edwards or like a Paolo Banchero or even a Scotty Barnes. Like there are a lot of young basketball players that, Shawn, you're back. There are a lot of young basketball players who I think Emmanuel Quickley would fit well to, fit well next to, but I want to see Emmanuel Quickley be a guy that can truly be that 6-man kind of type. Like we saw it with Bojan Bogdanovic, like Hawkeye saying, like we see it like how Maxey's taking guys off the dribble. Maxey is like, he's bagged out. Like he's playing great basketball. And I don't think that is quite Emmanuel Quickley at the moment. Does that mean Emmanuel Quickley is not a valuable basketball player? Absolutely not. The things Emmanuel Quickley brings to the game of basketball are flat out invaluable. He just plays the game at another level mentally than a lot of basketball players in the league. But what I want to see from him this season, and this is something I'm keying in on, I want to see him be able to take more guys off the dribble, because in the playoffs, I think that's going to get exposed again against an elite defensive team like a Cleveland or like a Miami or like a Boston. Right? Like if we play Atlanta, I think he'll get by no problem. If we play a team like Indiana, he'll get by no problem. But I want to see him, and just as an Emmanuel Quickley fan, not even as a Knicks fan at this point, I want to see Emmanuel Quickley become that lead guard, and that starts with his handle. And I haven't quite seen that so far this season.
Yeah. I think it's funny, interesting that you brought up the Maxey comparisons, because I've always maintained that Maxey and IQ were a Spider-Man meme. I've adjusted a little bit, because I think Maxey is better offensively. To your point, like Maxey has more of the wiggle, and he is more of like the ball handling.
Yeah, they're like bizarro versions of each other, I would say.
But the gap between them offensively is not that big. And then defensively, I mean, this is not even close. So what are we talking about here? Like the next time Tyrese Maxey defends will be the first time, right? So I think Hawkeye said that one guy comes off the bench. And one guy starts next to the MVP of the league. But interesting you say that. Like you think if they play Cleveland again, they'd struggle. He would struggle.
So I do, because the one thing that I would see that I'm looking for is, and I forget who said it. It was an NBA analyst. I think it was Steve Smith, like years ago. He said that if you want to know if a guy can dribble, watch how he reacts to ball pressure. If a guy starts to like turn his back to the ball pressure, then his handle isn't where it needs to be. Like Kyrie Irving will never back you down. Like you want to ball pressure Kyrie. Kyrie's going left to right on you, no problem. Jalen Brunson, he'll still back you down a little bit, but Jalen Brunson has no problem getting by a guy. It's because he's strong and he also has the wiggle. With Emmanuel Quickley, I'm watching guys give him pressure and he's turning his back and he's passing and he's looking for screens. And I'm like, that's not what I want to see from you right now. I know you can still be effective without the handle. I know you can still be effective without actually needing to cross tween a guy. I'm not 7 years old, but there is something to be said about being an advantage creator off the dribble for a guy his height. I think he's like 6'1", 6'2", 6'3", long, 6'8" wingspan. He has prototypical length for the position, but I want to see that handle come out of him, and I haven't been seeing it, and I think that's the one skill. I don't think you can be a lead guard in the NBA without the ability to create an advantage for yourself one-on-one off the dribble. And I haven't seen that enough consistently from Emmanuel Quickley. Still a great basketball player, but I'm not talking about whether or not he's good. I'm talking about, can Emmanuel Quickley be the elite offensive engine that can go start for another basketball team?
Yeah. Well, we may find out next year, depending on how this summer goes, and with restricted free agency and everything. But yeah, that makes sense. I remember you saying that Steve Smith story about like when they turn their back, that lets you know that something's up. All right, so we've just passed 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific, 6 Mountain, 5. No, wait, hold on. 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Mountain, 5 p.m. Pacific. And I shout them all out because apparently I dissed Alex because I threw them out. And he said that was he actually said it was your fault, Mensa. He's like, he blamed you for the disrespect. I was like, nah, Mensa didn't do that. I just didn't know we had people in the Mountain Time Zone.
He's not happy with me and my Miles McBride take.
Yeah. So I say it's 8 o'clock because 15 minutes, I'm going to change this hat for this hat because I got to watch these people take care of business, the Baltimore Ravens against the Cincinnati Bengals. Of course, since I put that in
time to stand on business. I always respect it.
I stand on business. So I do have a story to tell real quick to get out of here, but anything else you want to share while you're here? Really
quickly, Hawkeye had a really good comment a little earlier. At 7:57, he says, "I don't mean to bring up bad memories, but were we robbed of a Maxey type leap with Tip starting point Burks ahead of IQ?" I think that we'll never know. But I also think that that's a fair point because we saw what that year did for RJ Barrett in terms of his confidence scoring the basketball. He got a usage leap and then he was scoring 46 points a game. He was scoring 23, I think, a game after the All-Star break. And he got the Gotham commercial and it did so much for his confidence. Maybe they were, and this is why, like, I don't like this excuse, but it is just what it is. I don't think Tom Thibodeau saw enough from Emmanuel Quickley in practice to allow him to take the job over Alec Burks, who I know he's pre-Josh Hart. Like, the Josh Hart before Josh Hart was Alec Burks. But Alec Burks is still a good basketball player. And if I could have Alec Burks on my team, I will take Alec Burks on my team. It's not his fault that Tom Thibodeau thought he was a point guard. But I do think that's a fair point. We never know because he might have seen in his second season, hey, I can't take guys off the dribble. I can't create out of the pick and roll. Maybe I need to work on this in the offseason. And probably by now he would have had a head start and may have had a move or two to get by guys it may have just been, hey, I can't do this. I know I can't do this, so now I need to work on other things. So again, you never know, but I do think there's some validity to maybe starting Emmanuel Quickley in that season, stunting his growth to a way where he's not showing us the off the dribble juice that's necessary for a guy to be a playoff advantage creator.
I think Tibbs knew that Alec Burks is not a point guard. What I think he said to himself was, because they always say that Tibbs wants to win every game, and I always push back. I say I don't think he wants to win every game. He wants to not lose every game, and he said, I have a better chance of not losing with Alec Burks than Emmanuel Quickley because I'm trying to win every game in front of me. Like, it was not a lost season. It wasn't a lost season in his eyes, and the front office didn't come down and make the executive decision to say, like, okay, this is a lost season. You need to do this. But then again, listen, Maxey was getting run, and then James Harden showed up and said, push him off the ball. And there are times where he got benched for DeAnthony Melton.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a roller coaster ride. No, not all progression is linear. So I don't know.
Very true.
A1 that things will be different, but we'll see. All right. So I'm going to try to figure out why. I'm going to do this, and then after the show is done, I'm going to take take my laptop and make it run laps because this performance
suicide for the laptop.
But so we'll wrap up by I'll tell a quick story, and this is based on, for those who may have missed the post game show last night, the KFS, the mythical KFS field trip to Magic City for wings came up yesterday. And John was like, I would like to try these. I would like to try these wings. But he said he's not a strip club guy. So could we go? So then Andrew said, yeah, John said he's not a strip club guy.
So who cares?
So no, Macri did not go to Magic City Blood Panther. I'm gonna tell the story. So he said somehow, I forget when it came up, but it came up, and this is like a running joke. So Andrew said, well, there's DoorDash and Uber Eats and whatever. You can get wings. You get them delivered. And he says, no. I want the wings hot. Like, I want them, like, I open the container and there's steam coming off of them. So that's when I said, well, and this is where I tell the story. So not last year, 2021, I was in Atlanta for my friend's 40th birthday party. I got to my hotel. It was like around 3:00, and one of my best friends, Jedi mind tricked me into driving to pick him up from the airport because I had a rental car, and I was staying in Buckhead. He was at the airport, and this was like 3:00. And for anybody who has ever been to Atlanta, driving on 75, 85 basically when the sun is up is a nightmare. So he's my man. He's my best friend. I drove all the way down there. And I said, you know what? On the way back, what I'm going to do, we're going to Magic City and we're getting some wings. And he's like, cool. But but I was like, no, we're going to pick up the things because we did not have time to go to Magic City. I'm going to stop to make sure that my mic isn't shut off yet. Great. Okay. So pick him up. So it took me like an hour to get down there. And it took me like, I was like, oh, it'll be on the way, whatever. So put the order in line and it said it'll be ready by like in a half hour. I was like, great. By the time by the time we leave the airport, we'll get there, the wings will be ready. So you pull up to Magic City. So and granted, it's 5:00 in the afternoon. Now, as if any of you ever been to Magic City, you know that Magic City is not very big. It's small. It's like you pull up and be like, this is the world famous Magic City. Like, it's not that big of a building. So my man gets out the car to go get the wings. And now my friend is a strip club connoisseur.
Aficionado of ass cheeks.
I'm going to change his name to protect the innocent. So I said, Mike, go in there, get the wings, and come out. And he's like, all right, I got you. He goes in there. 5 minutes, no mic. 10 minutes, no mic. 15 minutes, no mic. I text him out, and I texted something along the lines of like, stop getting change. And he's like, nah, I'm still waiting. So 20 minutes later, he comes outside with the wings in his hand. And he gets in the car, and I'm looking at him. I'm like, what happened? He's like, no, actually, I was sitting there waiting for the wings. Like, I was just standing there waiting. Like, it wasn't taking to. I was like, well, I know, because it couldn't have been that. It couldn't have been that popping in there. He said, Kyle's hilarious. Then he said, no, it felt like 11:30 p.m. in there, and it was 5:00 on a Friday. So I was like, okay, got the wings. I will say this. I understand why Lou Williams broke protocol to go get some wings in 2020. I get it. They were really, really, really good. So one day, and to wrap up, I told Angel Claudio in the offseason, I was like, we should do a road trip. I said, listen, I will go down to I will do a road trip, well, anywhere. But if KFS goes to Atlanta, ever, I am driving Jonathan Macri personally to Magic City, and I'm going to tell him to go in there and get the wings and come out.
Oh man, no, that's got to be live. Like, we got to do like a KFS study hall with Jonathan Macri going into a Magic City to pick up chicken wings. Oh man,
there's no curbside pickup in Magic City. You go in there and you get the wings. All right?
Yeah, sounds like the food service in Magic City is better than 90% of the food service at Atlanta restaurants. Shout out to my guy, Keith Lee. Because at least you were able to get some food and they didn't tell you the wait was 2 hours.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, joining us in the first episode of KFS Study Home Playback. We'll be back next week. I'm going to try and get a guest. It'll probably be next weekend, either Saturday or Sunday. We're going to figure it all out. Thanks to everyone for pulling up, to being in the chat. Shout out to Kyle, Butter the Panther, Hawkeye, Ben Kim, Gervy. I know I'm missing somebody else. Whatever. I'm missing some people. Who cares? Shout out to all of you. Oh, BJ, shout out to you as well. And we will be back next week. So for Mensa, I am Shawn with W. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Knicks Nation, let's ride.
Thanks, fellas.